We are ready. Well, thank you for coming, everyone. This is the first Diversity in Tech panel. So thank you, all of you, for being here. If you want to use the hashtag DiversityLDN, that would be great. On Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and what else? MySpace. So, okay, let's start. So how many women we have here today? If you can raise your hand. Wow, wow, quite a few. Perfect, yeah, round of applause. And how many first generation or second generation immigrants here? Raise your hand. Wow, perfect. And how many people consider themselves part of a minority group? Well, yeah. So, as you can see, we have diverse people here. That is a reflection of our community. We are a diverse community, and that's why we want to do this event, to promote diversity and understand where we are in terms of diversity here in London. So what to expect tonight? We will have a welcome message from myself and from Donna from the UX. Then we will have the panel discussion. We will have some presentations from Employ and Hutton House on why a more inclusive workforce should be hired. And then we will have some closing remarks and raffles. So again, if you want to use the hashtag that you can see here, that would be great, DiversityLDN, or the hashtag from the UX, LTUXLDT. So let's start. So why diversity matters? Diversity matters because it's the right thing to do. I am sure that our workforce should be a reflection of our community. If we have a workforce that doesn't represent the community, we won't be building products that will fit everyone. So, why is diversity important? It reduces social isolation. It allows people to expand their professional careers. And it also creates hubs where people can share different ideas and different point of view. So people can understand others when we have diverse teams. And some numbers here. Teams that are more diverse perform 39% better. Gender diverse leadership teams show 15% higher returns. And inclusive teams are 22% more productive. So this means that more diverse teams, or teams that are more diverse, are more profitable. And these numbers should be important for companies to consider, because diversity is also good for business. I have this quote from an Apple employee. This quote is in is in the Apple's diversity page. So this person says, if we want a product to appeal to and work for a big group of people, it needs to be built by a diverse group of people. So again, if we want products to appeal to everyone, we should have everyone in our companies, or a representation for the community. So our group, how we started. We started with a vision to have a more diverse community in London and in the tech industry. It started with a conversation with one of my co-workers, or ex-co-worker. She doesn't work with London Life anymore. Her name is Kathleen McCain. She's one of the co-founders of Ladies at UX. And I shared my idea of organizing an event to promote diversity. And she said to me, you know what, I know some people that are also interested in creating an event. I can connect you with them. So she helped me to connect the dots, and then she introduced me to Donna, Dan, Emily, and Jay, and we started to organize this event. So we had meetings since September, some coffees, and the result of that was a plan to organize this event. So thanks to Kathleen, she's not here today, but I want to say thank you to her because she was the person that connected us and made this event possible. So who we are? We are a group of like-minded Londoners looking at the role of diversity and inclusion in the tech industry. This event is about diversity at the workplace. We want to understand how diverse we are at the workplace in the tech industry. But we also have plans to organize events to understand how we can build more accessible experiences or how we can create inclusive design. So I would like to thank everybody that is here, that is attending to this event, and also to the people that supported this event, Dan Towers from Arcane, Jay Menard from Digital Echidna, Donna from the Digital UX, and Emily Weiss from Race Roaster. Now, Donna, if you can join us, she's gonna introduce us about her group, Digital UX. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Donna Todd, and I am the current organizer for Ladies That UX. So like Camilo had said, Kathleen and also Ashley Keller had started the chapter here in London a couple of years ago, and they both have moved on for different reasons, and so I stepped up and now I'm the organizer. So just wanted to give you a little bit of information. I know there's a few members of Ladies That UX that are here, and we always love seeing new people, and we welcome everyone to come to any of our events. We're on Meetup, and I'll have that link a little bit later. Sorry, I'm gonna go back a little bit. So yes, this is our actual hashtag, and also for Twitter. So just to give you a little bit, because we always get the same question, why is it LTUX, LTT? Actually, Ladies That UX was founded originally in Manchester, England. So it didn't take long for there to be a chapter in London, England, right? It makes perfect sense. So then when we signed up and said, hey, we want London, Ontario, we have no idea. I think they shortened the LN or the LDN to an ONT probably, and just stuck the T on the end. We're not really sure, but this is what we ended up with. We don't know what the LDT stands for, so if anybody wants to make suggestions, we're open to suggestions. London Town sounds good. So now it's part of everything that we do. So I wanted to point that out because we get that question all the time and we have no explanation. We just go with it. All right, so I also wanted to start out because there are new people here who have never heard of UX, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of information on what UX actually is. UX is user experience, and it's actually the experience that a person has with a product. So if UX tools and principles, if they're used, they can help companies to understand those experiences. If the results are used to design and develop the product in a way that meets users' needs and expectations, then users will perceive it as a higher value and they will buy more, they will share it more, they will, tweet about it. It becomes a return on investment that's much more than what it would have been just being built the way it had been built. And then the process starts over. So it's about taking into consideration those needs and then going back and saying, okay, have we been able to do what we thought we would do? And if not, let's change it a little bit and let's make it a little bit better, and it just gets improved and it gets improved so that the person's experience is the best that it can be with that particular product. So, Ladies That UX in the global group. Their vision is that Ladies That UX is a monthly meetup that creates a welcoming, transparent community of people that work in UX who positively promote and teach each other. There are actually over 55 chapters, and as you will see, we are the second in Canada. So we always like to point out there's all these others, and the rest of Canada needs to get caught up with us. That's what needs to happen. So our particular chapter's vision and mission is to empower women and men working in or interested in the UX, design, and tech fields by understanding their goals and motivations. We have a vision of bridging the gender gap in our industry locally and worldwide. And we are women-focused, not women only, so spread the word. And believe that by including everyone in this discussion, we can make the most impact to fulfill this vision. So with ladies at UX being the name of the group, a lot of times guys don't think that they're actually welcome, but our chapter does welcome anyone who's interested, can come to any of our events. They're most of the time free. We do have a conference that happens once a year that sometimes last year it was free. This year we may have to charge something for it, but we always try to work within the tech community and then reach out to other organizations that are interested in UX. So the other thing is that, and I just kind of touched on that we have monthly events, and the purpose of the events are to educate and support the development of the UX community, and we now have an annual conference. So I've included the meetup link, but you can go to meetup.com and just search for Ladies That UX. You will find our meetup group, and then all you have to do is sign up. That is not an obligation that you have to show up. It's only to let you know about our events as they actually get announced. So I do have two other announcements. We do know that our next meetup is going to be May 17th, which will be in recognition of International Accessibility Day. We haven't planned exactly what it's going to be yet or where, but we will give out more details. So if you actually sign up with Meetup, then you'll be able to get that information. The other thing too is that what we find at a lot of our meetups is that we have not just people who are wanting to learn about UX, but we also quite often will have different companies or different representatives that will show up to talk to people and kind of get prospects for jobs. So if you're interested in getting a job in the tech field, I would say it is a great group to network with. And actually tonight we have a couple of people from ZTR. We've got Graham and Alexis, couldn't see her over there. And if you want to talk to them later on, they have a position that's available. And this is a great way to, build your career. Find people to talk to, find ways to actually educate yourself and develop the job that you want. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. Something very important I forgot to mention is that the bathrooms are on my left, right there. And also I want to say thank you to my manager. I want to embarrass her. She's right here. She came all the way from Toronto. So thank you, Stephanie. And it's team from Toronto that came today. So now we're going to start the panel. If Dan can join us, it would be great. I'll pass the microphone to you.
This is an awesome packed house. I just want to say that first. Thank you so much. I think when we originally had set out to do today, we were like, oh, it'd be great if we can get like 30 people out. And we had 90 people that registered. So to get, I think we had enough seating for like 65. This is just incredible. So thank you, first and foremost, everyone that's here. I'm going to start off with introducing myself. My name is Dan Towers. I am from Arcane. Just on behalf of Arcane, again, thank you for coming out. I'm also the head of our diversity committee here at Arcane. So when we have our meetings, we typically get like 10 to 12 people out for all of them, but we have probably about 20 people out of the 75 in this building that in some way, shape, or form are on the committee, and even more than that come out to our events. So definitely this is something that's very close to my heart. And a big thank you to Camilo and Donna for really bringing together these groups to make today possible. So why we're here today is our diversity and tech panel. We're going to be talking about understanding where we are. Camilo did talk about, in the future, where do we want to go in that. We're going to save those for a little bit of a later date, but really to get there, we need to understand where we came from. So on that note, if I can ask our panel to come on up, get on up here. So who do we have here today? First, let's start off with Victor. So Victor is the new business manager at Digital Echidna. We also have Chantelle Wilder, who's the chief operating officer at Race Roster, and Diana Caballero. Yeah? Woo! Awesome. Okay. Go me. Who is the design lead at ResIM. So we're gonna get quite intimate with them. So I'm not gonna do too much of a bio, if that's cool with you guys, because really what I want to know first, and hopefully you can share with everybody here, is really about, tell us a bit about your past, and what was that path to get you to London? What did that look like?
Well, hi everyone. I'm so glad to see some familiar faces in a packed house. So my story can sound a little cheesy because how I ended up here was because I met this guy and we fell in love, a long distance relationship, and it got to a point where, okay, if we wanted to see if it was going to work out, we had to be living in the same space. So I just graduated, I went for graphic design, and then I was in Spain for about 6 months doing some print design, and I came back home, stayed home for a couple of months, and then, Mom, I'm gone again, sorry. So I came to Canada. Why London? Because of him, not a specific reason, to be honest. At the beginning, I was thinking London more like a stepping stone, you know, like, okay, we'll come here, maybe I'll get a job in Toronto, the big city, you know, the dream. So when I got here, I started looking for jobs, and I realized that it wasn't easy. I got a few interviews here in London and Toronto, and people kept telling me the same thing, like, oh, your portfolio is great, but we need someone with more experience, so thank you, just keep in the loop. And I'm like, okay, so I was getting very frustrated, and, you know, just coming here, leaving everything behind. He was the only person I had, and to be honest, I was in a little bit of a depression mode. I didn't have anyone, and culture here, people in Canada are awesome, don't get me wrong, but coming from a country where family and friends are so close, it was a big impact. Plus the minus 20 degrees also played a big role, to be honest. But yeah, so I was job hunting for months until somebody here in London saw something in me. And so in order for me to be able to stay here and work, I had to have a job offer. And then I had to apply for a work permit. So I think that was a little bit of the challenge that companies would see, you know, oh, she can't even work yet, she has to apply. Long story short, I applied for a work permit, it got denied by accident, the lawyer fixed it, I got the work permit, and once I started working, and I kind of felt that everything was falling into place. Started meeting people. I got this friend who introduced me to a bunch of her friends, and I think she was my savior, because it's hard to meet people when you're not studying. And I was working at this place with like 2 other guys, and that was it. Like, that's the only people I know right now. But yeah, I think that's basically what brought me here.
Love. What about you, Victor?
I don't know how to follow that. Like, that was, it was a beautiful story. It was actually a story that I heard in great detail on Tuesday. Hi, Colin. How you doing, buddy? So, yeah, I hate to say this is going to sound corny too, but I'm also here for love. That's what brought me here to London, Ontario, is that I can go into a great story of when I was 8 years old, I had to flee my country and all sorts of stuff like that, but I think that's going back a little bit too far in terms of how I came here. We can tell that maybe later, if you have room or time. But let's talk about where I was immediately before I came to London. So I'm from a town in the Niagara region, I guess a city called St. Catharines. That's where I went to school. That's really where I did my undergrad. And that's where I met my current wife. So we've been together 22 years now. I know I look so young, but we've been together 22 years now, and that's really where that relationship started. The reality is that she was looking for a place where she could come and do her master's. So we looked at Kingston, we looked at Toronto, and we also looked at London. So we had the opportunity to come here to London, to visit the university, and at the time, I was also exploring an opportunity at the university here as well. So the reality is that St. Catharines is relatively close to Toronto. It's about 45 minutes away. So we knew what that experience was like. We knew what going to school there, living there, working there was going to be like. We went to Kingston, and it just didn't resonate with us as well. The thing that did it for us, the thing that really made us pick London, was the fact that in between my interview at the university and in between the time that she was going to tour the university, we had the opportunity to have a picnic in Springbank Park. And at that time, we were there together in this beautiful surrounding, and we really realized why this is called the Forest City. And after that is when we decided this is the spot. And 3 weeks later, we moved St. Catharines to London. It was really that quick. It's like when you buy your first home, it's like when you meet your true love or what have you, you just know, and then you have to act on it. So that was really the path that brought me here.
Hi everyone. Sorry, that sun is like right in my eyes. I was like, I can do it. No, I can't.
That's our version of a spotlight.
Hey, I love it.
It's natural.
I can see you all now. Great. Well, my name is Chantelle, and I'm really excited that you're all here tonight. I think it's a true testament to the importance of diversity in our community. So kudos to all of you for making time in your evening to do this. My story and how I got to London, if my husband was sitting here, he would tell a story more similar to this. I brought the California boy to London, Ontario, so this has been a long winter for us. But yeah, so I grew up in London actually. I moved away when I was 17. I got an athletic scholarship to the University of Hawaii, which at 17, I think I thought Hawaii was equidistant to Florida, because at 17 you're like, warm places are all about a 3-hour flight. So then when it took about 17 hours to get there, that first year was very difficult. I ended up living in Hawaii, which is an incredibly diverse place, and I learned a ton there about this topic. Was there for 7 years, did not anticipate being there that long. Did both my undergrad and my graduate schooling there. And then my husband's company that was in Hawaii moved to California, right to Silicon Valley. And I was running semi-professionally at the time as a marathon runner. And there's a great running community out of Stanford University, so I was training there. And then really being exposed to technology, and that was around 2010 to 2014, so things were really starting to take off, especially there, obviously. So everybody that my neighbors, everybody I ran with, what do you do? Tech. It was whereas here, it's still pretty unique when you say that you work for a technology company. So then around 2014, I got pregnant with my first son, and Race Roster was really starting to take off out at the headquarters in London, and I had been starting Race Roster West for about 2 years out of our garage there. And yeah, it was taking off, and I was pregnant, and I thought, if I want to be a woman in the workforce, I need a really strong community around me, including my family. And so we made the decision when I was 5 months pregnant to move home. So I guess children, I would say, brought us back to London. But I get asked all the time, how did you get your husband to move to London, Ontario? So Race Roster, the great company of Race Roster, and I would say, I think myself, it came for me. I like to think that. Is that good?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a lot of loud. I'm pretty loud, so if you guys want to keep that, you guys can pass that around. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, I'm pretty loud. I get it. Honestly, for me too, I also came to London for love. And then I got dumped 2 months afterwards. And that's my story, and it was quite a tumultuous time, but it brought me here. So it is interesting, and I think we need to dig deeper into that to kind of figure that out. But this panel's not about me. That's the next one. No. But I think you guys actually touched on a couple different points. So I want to look at something from 2 different perspectives. And that's the perception of the city. So for Diana and Victor, what were your perceptions of London before coming here? Probably not good based on your reaction.
I guess I don't need to see it.
Okay, we'll pass it around in case.
You want me to use it?
Yeah,
You're gonna go.
You can, yeah.
You go. You do.
Well, to be honest, like I said, I kind of made a rush decision to come in here, and I didn't even know what was coming at me. All I knew that it's close enough to Toronto. This is where Colin grew up, so it must be okay.
And was it okay?
Well, yeah, like I like the city, but I found it really hard to fit in at the beginning. And when I was job hunting, I was like, there's really not much out there. Maybe I just sucked at Googling back then, but yeah, I was having a hard time, and really I had no perception. I just started building it and living here, and now that I've been here for like 6-7 years, I feel like it's completely changed.
All right, I guess I will use this. So in my city of St. Catharines, there's about 130,000 people. The people that I knew that went to London or moved to London to go to Western were, the majority of them went to the private school that was there. They drove BMWs, so I assumed that London would be quite elitist and I wouldn't have a place here. So obviously that perception was wrong. But when you're young, you have a lot of raw perceptions. That was something that was built up in my head and built up without any real facts to back it up. So obviously, once I moved here, I learned that perception was wrong. I have to admit that some of my experiences were similar to yours, Deanna. Is that when I first came here to London, it was really just me and my wife. My wife was here to do her master's, and I was transferred. At the time, I worked at TD Canada Trust at a bank, so I just got transferred to a location here. But my day really consisted of going to work, going home, going to work, going home. And there was really, at that time, nothing here to know about what was happening in a new community. There was no way to really connect with others that were younger, that were new professionals, that were just starting out. So from that perspective, it was hard to build a solid understanding of what the community had to offer. And I found it really isolating. I found it really, really challenging. So for the first 6 months to a year, it was hard. It was hard. And then what happened is that I started to go out to a few more events. I started to meet a few more people, and then things started to become a little bit easier. And the reality is that after that point, London really did start to feel like home. So that's when the perception really changed. I realized that it wasn't an elitist place. There was room for me, but at the initial points in that first year, I had to work pretty hard at it. So that was my experience.
Oh, and then for Chantelle, how would you have described London to your husband, and what were his perceptions before moving here as well?
Yeah. Well, Robbie and I got married quite young. I was 21, so right after we both graduated from the University of Hawaii, we got married, and part of that was a story about being able to stay in America. And so I have some traumatic stories of homeland security, and yeah, I could go on for days, but they didn't treat me all that nice there. Yeah, so Robbie had been here quite a few times. Like, we got married here, and he actually really embraced the community, and so for many years he had said, I'm very open to moving to London if that's important to you. I would say that he grew up in the country in California, so London was actually more of a significant size community. He grew up in what I would say something like similar to Strathroy. And I would, cold, obviously. I think what was most surprising to him, and I think maybe this might be a surprising comment, but is how diverse London and Canada is. And so when I talk to some of our clients who live in the US, I remind them how diverse our country is and how diverse, they think we live in Toronto and we work out of Toronto, and I don't really correct them all the time. Some people will say that Toronto is like the second most diverse city in the world, which is wild. And so I think Robbie was, pretty surprised by that, the ethnic diversity, I would say here. Yeah.
I think London gets criticized sometimes for lack of ethnic diversity. Any kind of comments around that? I know for myself, I heard a lot about London before coming here, that London is a very white town that is kind of small-minded. That was my personal perception. Anybody have any thoughts around that? do?
I didn't feel it that way because like Chantelle was saying, like you could tell like there's quite a bit of diversity. And looking at it from a Latin perspective, I spotted that there was like a big community of Colombians right away. So to me, it didn't feel that way at all.
I guess the reality is that when I did start going out to a lot of business events, so I'm going to be honest, I didn't see many people that looked like me. When I looked out into the crowd, the reality as well is that I was younger than everyone else that was there. So back then I was sub 30, which is quite young for a lot of the events that you go out to. And I also noticed that it was the same group of people that really seemed to travel around and go to these sort of London marquee events. So really, the only person I saw that looked like me was Councillor Harold Usher. And he could tell that I was new to town. It's like, hey, I've never seen you at these events before. So he was nice enough to talk to me and to have those discussions. Now that being said, the landscape has changed significantly. And part of the things I learned at going to those early events was the opportunity to talk to people that are maybe not, in a clique or talk to each other, but really to talk to people that were in the sidelines, that really were just waiting to be welcomed in. Because I remember what it was like to go to my first event, to not look like everyone else that was there, and how terrifying that was, and how hard it was for me to take a step forward, or for someone else to take a step towards me. So when I would go to those events and not see people that look like me or see people that look different, taking the opportunity to reach out to them, to talk to them, to learn about diverse things that are happening in the community, again, so before social media or anything else like that, it was really interesting, the stories that you would hear. And then I really started to gravitate towards those people, to hear more interesting stories, to go to more culturally diverse things, and to really understand what London had to offer. But like I said in my previous comment, I had to really work at it.
Yeah, so I went to John Paul too, and so did the other 5 co-founders of Race Roster. And that school at the time was, it still is incredibly diverse. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but it's such a unique place. And it actually at that time was extra unique because if you're familiar with the North End, now there's Mother Teresa and there's St. Andre Bessette, and there was always Lucas, but all the North End kids would feed John Paul because that was the closest school, but it was on the East End. And so you had this incredibly diverse high school. And I was actually talking to my father about this a couple nights ago, and he was saying how important that was to my brother and my upbringing. But then, shortly after, actually the cohort after me from my elementary school ended up going to Mother Teresa. So it actually, in you saying this, brings up an important point. As London continues to grow, we can actually stay very close to our homes and get everything we need, right? And oftentimes where we live is a representation of, it may be ethnic diversity or socioeconomic class or whatever that may be. And, for our kids, it might be a little bit more difficult for them to be exposed to that. And so I think it's important as the city grows that we continue to make sure that there's opportunities for them to participate in things where they're interacting with people from all different parts of the city, because I think that's where we're going to be able to see a lot of meshing of culture and such. So yeah, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I would say at John Paul, I was definitely a minority at the time, and when I went to the University of Hawaii, mostly Polynesian and Asia Pacific influences there. And so some of the other athletes that were on the track team with me from the US, they were a little overwhelmed by that culture, but I definitely wasn't, and I would say that was a testament to the high school that I went to.
Awesome. Yeah, so you guys talked about your kind of the first years that you were here until now. Do you think there's been a noticeable change or shift in diverse representation, the way that we view inclusivity in the tech space? Change?
I think, well, maybe now because I consider myself an insider, my perspective has changed a little bit, but I do believe that especially the tech community has grown a lot in the last few years, and there has been a boom of all these new groups and organizations. Like all the work that you guys are doing is amazing, and I think that's what's bringing the community together. I've met some amazing people and I've made some really good friends at these events, and I think that's a testament of the community we're building and how important it is to keep events like this going. And yeah, I think back then when I got here, if I had known that there were groups like this, it would have been way easier for me to settle in.
Yeah, I guess my experience is similar. So I've lived in London since 2003, which seems shocking at this point. My plan was to come here, my wife was going to do her master's, and then we were going to move to downtown Toronto. That was the plan. Here we are, 15 years later, still here. So plans change, to say the least. I guess, oh my God, what are we talking about?
It's okay, I was thinking the same thing.
Has there been any sort of notable change?
Oh, of course, all right.
From when you started to now?
All right. So yeah, so 2003 is definitely a long time ago. I'm definitely not the youngest person in the room anymore, based on my, I don't know, my elder moment there. I'm not sure what to call it. Where am I? No, but the reality is, yeah, things have changed significantly from that time, from 15 years ago to now. It's just that there's so many more ways to get information. There's so many more groups that are active, that are making sure that we have the right conversations, that you're going to find more like-minded people. There's just so many ways to connect, even through technology, that just didn't exist back in 2003. So I've been very fortunate to go to events, not just in London, but I've also been fortunate to travel to other parts of North America and just to have different experiences. So things have changed drastically, and an event like this was something that I couldn't have imagined that they would have back in 2003. And even to look around this room and to see diversity, to understand that how empowering it is to have diverse groups, to have diverse workforces, and to have those voices being heard in a community is fantastic. And I think I've seen significant growth here in London with that.
From the beginning, you've been here from the beginning. What was it like from growing up here to now?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I thought about this question a lot. This is one that you had sent over. You know, we were joking that we still don't know what we want to do before we got up here. And so what I do every day was definitely not something I dreamed of doing. It just didn't exist when I was in high school, right? Like my position, we built a company, online registrations for endurance events. Like, what? You know? Marathons for sure have existed for many, many years. But on the point of diversity, like women weren't even allowed to participate in a marathon at the Olympic distance until 1985. That was the year, 1984 in LA. I was born in 85. Like, that's crazy, right? So yeah, I think things have obviously changed in London. I can't really speak to how it would be relative to the rest of the world in terms of technology. I just don't think I had that frame of mind at 17. That being said, my dad was a technology teacher, like a high school teacher my whole life. But to me, technology did not mean what it meant today. To me, it meant electricity, really. That's what we learned in school in the technology unit, right? It was really, that was all we learned.
The unit.
The unit, exactly. It was a unit in science.
Well, when we were talking earlier, you were saying 7 years now you've been CEO the whole time?
Nope, I've had many different
roles.
Yeah.
But now being a C-level executive and a woman, I think is pretty rare in London in the tech industry. I know for myself, what was really empowering is recently with Arcane, if you've seen the news, Lindsay Schneider, who was our VP of Human Capital, is now our CEO. So having a badass CEO female in the tech industry, super happy about that. Like, that was very exciting to me. You are one of those trailblazers in that space too. How has it changed in, I guess, the past 7 years even?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I do have moments, if I'm honest with you, I do have moments where I feel like I'm reaching and seeking for a female leader to identify with, and I have read books like Sheryl Sandberg's book, and usually it's in a moment of like motherhood where I'm thinking, is there anyone else that's trying to do what I'm trying to do? And it can feel lonely at times, and I do sit in a lot of boardrooms with 5 men who have strong personalities that I've known since I was 13, and most of them since I was 6. But then I have moments where I'm really proud, and I use the word trailblazer. And my husband's an incredible support in my life, and when I do have those moments, he says, stop searching and just start being, right? Like, be the trailblazer, be that woman, so that, you know, the women in our company who are a little bit younger than me, that some of them are sitting there, they do have someone to look up to, and so that's a big motivating factor in my life. But I'd be lying if I said that there are times when I don't feel like that minority. And then I think on it, you know, on the flip side, I think there are opportunities for mothers to learn from one another, and there are even some senior execs like, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name from Voices. Somebody help me. Stephanie. Stephanie I have never met, which is a crazy concept, and I think about it all the time, but truthfully I'm so focused on race roster and my kids that there isn't room for anything else, right? So nights like these are really special for me, and I don't always take every opportunity that I get like this, because I've made a commitment to race roster and to my family at this point. But yeah, it's difficult at times.
Yeah, I love that note. Be the one.
Yeah.
Be the one to do it. Kind of on that line, that was a really great segue to the next thing I want to talk about, which is about really being that leader or having that leadership. So how is like visible minority leadership? How does that impact your life, or how do you think it's going to change the tech industry in London? Do you think it's really important?
Who's following back?
Of course, like, and not even just being a leader, just, you know, being part of a workspace and belonging to a community. Of course, I see the benefit in it. I mean, Camilo talked about like all the economical benefits that it could have for a company. I mean, it would not only make it, like, its image, it would not only be positive, but also, like, if you think of all these people, the stories, people with a diverse background, or even with some kind of disability, they've gone through things that other people haven't. So I feel like it makes them really resilient people, and like kind of like a tougher skin. So they do have a lot to bring to the table: experience, knowledge, ideas, and just a completely different perspective. So I do see the value in having a big leadership and belonging from the minority.
I guess myself personally, I really appreciate the fact that there's minorities in leadership. I guess part of it stems from not just the fact that there's a minority in a leadership role, but the fact that the minority in that leadership role is in a company that has that culture of diversity, that has that culture of inclusiveness, that has that culture that's willing to promote or push someone forward that is different, that is part of a diverse culture. So I really think that's empowering. I know that there's lots of companies here in town that are doing things like that, not just in the tech sector, but out of the tech sector as well. When I hear about the diversity committee that your team has here at Arcane, I think that's amazing, just to make sure that we don't lose sight of the the different values, different perceptions, the different voices that could be part or that are definitely existing within our companies and within our community.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I think the statement the quote you posted about Apple that said essentially we'd be silly not to have a diverse workplace if we want our product to be used by many people and enjoyed by many people. We have to have a diverse community in our office who's building it, so that we can build it to be inclusive of all our users. And so I think that starts with leadership. I guess from a minority's perspective, I'm going to use the mom card really, but I think it is important, and I do look at our technology every day from the lens of a mom, a busy mom. Like, that better be front and center, I'm going to miss it. Like, I noticed on one of our main pages, this is not enough on Emily, on one of our pages, the event date is missing, and it used to always be there, and I was like, if I'm a mom and I'm an event director, I need to see that front and center, you know? So yeah, I think it starts at the top, really, and making sure that those positions are filled with a well representation of the community.
And along those lines too, for all three of you, given your positions within your organizations, do you feel pressure to be that role model, to have that responsibility too? And is it fair? Is it fair to have that on you?
I guess I'll go.
We're going out of order.
Oh, sorry, go.
No, go.
I don't see it as pressure. It's more than anything. You know, regardless of if you're a minority or what have you, in the company you're there really to inspire others and to make sure others are able to be their best. You're able to make sure that others have the opportunity to shine. So if that makes me, you know, a strong role model within my company, if that makes me a strong role model within my community, I'm happy with that. Because at the end of the day, even if, you know, the differences were taken away, I was still there to inspire and to help people and to empower people to be their best.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd never thought of it that way. Like, I don't know if I would consider myself a role model, but I guess because you don't assign yourself that title, it's just people that surround you that see something in you and just you wanna strive to be or have something that person has in a positive way. So yeah, I don't feel it's a responsibility, but I'm like, if there's anything I can do, I'm always happy to help. I mean, I know what I had to go through, and if anybody ever wants to just sit and have a cup of coffee and share experiences, I'm up for it because I know what it takes to feel included, and yeah, so I'm happy to help.
I would say there's a little bit of pressure that comes with it, but it's usually welcomed for the most part. I think in stressful situations, I do sometimes think of myself as how are they going to view me, and is my response to this stressful situation going to be reviewed as a emotional response maybe as a woman. And so I'd be lying if I said it is a little bit of pressure, but it's welcomed most of the time. Yeah.
Do you find, I love that you said that point, do you find as a woman that is a challenge? I know for some of the younger women on my team, sometimes when it comes to their interactions with men, you know, I have to say to them, there is going to be a different interaction. I definitely, as a male, get that automatic authority in some sense, and I can see how you're afraid that you might be seen as a bitch, and that's not fair, and that's not how it should be. And obviously there's a lot of systemic issues that point to that, but how do you kind of cope with that? Or
That's a great
or
question.
to experience it first.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have found myself before, when I was in sales, I would often look at who I was selling at, and I would think, oh, okay, I'm going to be more like this to sell to them, and somewhat take maybe a more masculine approach. But what I've always found is, you know, it sounds a bit cheesy, but if you're just really genuine and true to who you are, it's usually the best sales tactic. In the office, I wouldn't say I have much of an issue with that. I'd say I've matured over the last 7 years, and it's okay. I think it's okay to have a feminine view of things, and I think it's actually important. You know, I would say I offer a different lens in some of our board meetings. I think it'd be a miss if we didn't have my view as a woman there. So, yeah.
Any thoughts? Do you experience that at all as a woman?
I don't know. I never really thought of it. I don't feel pressure. It might be just the environment I'm around. Definitely not in charge of a whole company. So,
A lot of help.
I just go day by day and enjoy every second of it.
Cool. When it comes to, obviously we talked a lot about work and the community, but looking at both of those, is there one or the other, so the tech community or your own personal experiences, that's more supportive for you? Are they equal?
Well, they're obviously both important. You know, like I was saying, to feel inclusive. I didn't feel at home until I had a steady job that I really loved, and I had my group of friends. I feel like they're both necessary to maintain that balance as a human being. I still struggle. I'm not a really social person. I don't go out a lot. I don't meet a lot of new people. and this has been my way for me to meeting people. So combining like my job and the thing that I love the most doing, and then meeting awesome people like this, I feel like I found it a bit easier than just the personal world.
Do you find it's the norm though in the tech industry? Like obviously we're all here because we're like-minded in some way, but do you find that's representative of the larger tech community?
I feel like perhaps, because we know that tech is moving so fast, you need to keep up. If you're not involved, you're going to be left behind.
I guess in terms of support, like I do have to say that that my family, again, being together with my wife for 22 years, she knows the good, the bad, the ugly, the other. That is really my rock, and I have a little 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. So anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a shy person. I'm a very vocal person. I'm a very social person. But when I go home, some of that has to go away. So I love the fact that I can just be comfortable in my own skin and comfortable with them being supportive, understanding them, fully understanding who I am. In terms of from a professional side, I love the tech community in London. I've been in the tech community, now probably for, this is I guess my 10th year in the tech community here in London, and I've just met some really incredible people. I see some really incredible people that I've met here in this room. But I've actually had the opportunity, like you said, to go out and to just have a coffee and just to learn about their lives and really go from there. I think that has been empowering, and the stories that I've been able to get from those people, the insights, the support has been fantastic. Like granted, obviously yes, the larger tech community has been fabulous and supportive, but I like the people on the sidelines. I like the people on the periphery because I remember that's where I was, and I tend to gravitate towards those people.
Yeah, I think I would say I feel equally supported at home and at work. I like coming to work every day. Like I feel like that's my second family, and I kind of feel like Race Roster was our first child, being honest. It's not of equal importance to me, but it's very important. Support-wise, I absolutely could not do a fraction of what I do without my support system at home, and I've talked a lot about Robbie, but I think because we worked so diligently on this business together, we couldn't do it without each other, and he obviously supports me being a woman in the workforce and having to come back to work early for maternity leaves and things like that. And so, but when you talk about home, it reminded me about 3 months ago, I had to work in the evening, and I usually save work from 8 to 11 at night, and so I usually do a hard stop from 6 to 8 so I can have supper and all that good stuff. But I had to work late between that time, and my son came into the office, and he's 3, and he said, "Mommy, I don't like that girls go to work too." And this was right when I had come back from going back to work after maternity leave, and I was like, whoa, like that was, I didn't know what to say to him, right? I'm not going to reprimand him, that's not acceptable, and but it really made me think. And so, those are those nights where Robbie and I have a serious conversation about, like, am I doing the right thing? Why does he feel this way? And should I, and ultimately what I go back to is, why do we work hard? We work hard to provide for our families, and also, like, my motivation to work hard is to be that trailblazer in our community. And so, of course, I have a responsibility to my family, but I also have a responsibility to the community, right? And so we talk about those things. But there are knee-jerk things that am I fully supported, so hopefully he'll come around one day.
He's 3, there's time.
Yeah, there's time.
Oh, that's cute.
Don't hold it against him.
Right. Victor, one of the things you said was about the good, the bad, the ugly. Really looking at the ugly.
Okay.
For all 3 of you, though.
Right.
Have you experienced in London or in the tech community prejudice, racism? Do you think that is, or is it something that happens often? Do you see it? Have you experienced it? And do you have a story, if there is one, that you'd be comfortable sharing?
Towards the London tech industry, or in London, I have to admit that I've been very fortunate, where I haven't experienced any like blatant racism or anything else like that. Prior to moving to London, absolutely. There were lots of situations where that happened. I can share one that really set the tone and actually helped change my mindset. Are you comfortable with that if it's not about London?
Absolutely.
So I started to hint at a story of that I had to flee my country to come here quite a few years ago. And when we started here in this country, we really had nothing. We were a family of 5 living on, in essence, OSAP. So it was definitely a different time. And during that time, we had saved up enough money to do a down payment and to buy our first home. So, you know, it's a great accomplishment. It's a Canadian dream to do this. And we lived beside a neighbor, and we lived beside this couple for probably, I'd say 10 or 12 years or what have you. And then one day, as we're talking, we were having a conversation in the backyard, and her comment was that when your family moved in, I wish I'd had a gun because I know an African Canadian family was moving in next to us. And that was really shocking coming from a person that I had known, that I'd been in her backyard, that we'd had conversations, to know that years and years and years ago, she had had those feelings, ungrounded feelings, because she had never met us, based on perception, based on, similar to the false perception I had of London, without actually coming here. It really didn't make sense, and that was the first time I started to think differently around what perceptions can do, and what having a bad perception can really do to a person. So at that time, even at that young, I started to change my mindset, and I started to make sure that I looked at every opportunity with more of an open mind. And I think that's really helped me move forward. And I think that's really been something great within this community, is that, you know, I'm very fortunate, very lucky to say that I haven't had any blatant racism here. But growing up, there was definitely racism, and it's almost like a hidden racism, that it's not at the surface until you start to scratch a little bit deeper to be like, oh my, that's something I just didn't even know was there.
I have to agree with Victor that
That's first.
that I have never experienced anything like that. I think I've been fortunate to be surrounded by the right people, and I think the only times I've felt this big is crossing the U.S. border. Man, they hate Mexicans, but yeah, no, like not here, and I'm thankful because I know that it is a problem that you see nowadays. And I just feel lucky that I haven't had experience that.
Chantelle, what about you for your career? Has there been any?
I wouldn't say there has been in London. I would say there's been moments where clients may have made me feel, and it may have been like pressure that I put on myself, but I do always remember twice I've gone on mat leave, and I used to do a lot of the elite account management, and I would be very fearful to let them know that I was pregnant and that maybe we would lose that account. So I think that was more pressure I put on myself, and typically those clients were really excited and usually sent me like a baby gift. So it's probably, but yeah, I would say especially with males, I'd be nervous about telling them, whereas a female client, I would definitely open up and probably tell them 3 months sooner.
Have you had those experiences with young women as well? Like Arcane has a number of women who are about to go on mat leave, and I can imagine that can be stressful talking about that.
Well, girl, no. You know what? It's something that coming back as COO, and now, you know, I look at our org chart quite frequently. Sure, it's something I think about all the time. I would say we have 6 to 8 women in our company that are within 1 to 5 years of that, and it's a really real reality. But overall, I'm super excited about it, and I'll 100% support them. And I think having gone through it myself and knowing how as a company, I was able to actually really go on mat leave. Like, I forwarded my email to my brother and completely shut off for 6 months. So I know it can be done, so I'm not worried about it. Yeah, we have to embrace it. We have to. It's the only way. Yeah.
Great. So we have about 5 minutes left, so I just want to ask one kind of final question about London. We've prefaced this whole event with, in the future we are going to talk about where can we go in that, but maybe just a little insight into how you think London's doing as a whole when it comes to diversity and inclusion, and where you see it going in the next couple of years.
I'm going to go in order.
Like I mentioned before, I think a lot of members of the community are stepping up and they're setting a great example for us to follow. And I think we can't rely on anybody else. This is our job. This is the community we live in, that we care about. And I think as long as we continue path doing as much as we can, then London is going to be standing out because of it.
I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is that I've been here for about 15 years, so I've definitely seen it change dramatically. I love events like this, and I guess what I'm noticing is that events like this are continuing that discussion to make sure that it's at the forefront. Some companies have very far to go in terms of changing their culture, and some companies are really leaders there, even here locally. So from that perspective, I think it's moved dramatically. Sure, there's ways that we can be better, but I think just having an open mind and not being afraid to ask questions and not being afraid to have conversations with people that are a little different than you, that are a lot different than you, and to not be defensive based on either the answers you get back or the questions that you're asking or what have you. Just to have that open dialogue, I think is fantastic, and I think that's what London has become better at doing. So I know that they will continue to do that, us as a community will continue to do that, and I think that will bring about really some dynamic change.
That's a great answer. Yeah, I would say we know that there's diversity in London. I think we all agree with that. And so that means we know that there's a lot of diverse kids that are being raised in London, and there's a ton of schools that have these kids in them, and obviously education is the #1 way that we can get technology to infiltrate their lives, and so they're all using it already. So I think as leaders and as the leading tech companies in London, we really need to get into those schools and teach them about what the job opportunities are that exist, so that unlike me, they can actually aspire to be, whatever that may be, in technology. So start describing actual jobs. So no longer, sure, we need nurses and doctors and lawyers and all those good things too, but talking to them about what it means to be a designer, UX designer, like something that I would never have known about. And so, yeah, I think education and youth is really the answer there, and just making sure we get into those communities.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your experiences and coming out today. If we can get a round of applause for them. So as we're just fixing the screen there, up next we are going to have, we invited 2 community groups to come up, so if I could trade you guys off, thank you very much. Thank you again, it's much appreciated. And leads the Women in Tech peer group for Tech Alliance. She's a member of Employees Leadership Council. So welcome.
Okay, thank you. No problem. Hi, everyone. How's it going in the back? We're all good? Okay. I dodged the sunset at least, so I don't have to worry about the sun beaming in my eyes. Okay, so yes, I do wear a lot of hats in the London tech community, but today I am here on behalf of Employ. So quick show of hands, who here has ever heard of Employ before 30 seconds ago? Okay, good, that's why I'm here. I need to get the word out. So Employ is just about to have their 10th anniversary. Up until last year, we were the London Middlesex Immigrant Employment Council. Just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? So there you go. We've rebranded to Employ. It's much easier. However, the mandate is the same. So we are here to support and champion immigrant talent and connect them with the employers. We support and champion the recruitment and retention of newcomer talent in Canada, specifically in Southwestern Ontario. Now, I was just at an event similar to this about 6 years ago when somebody started talking about newcomer talent. And I will admit, as a hiring manager, I hadn't really thought of that talent pool. I posted jobs, resumes came in, all was good. I hadn't really thought about, was I reaching into all of the different communities and ensuring that they knew my jobs were being posted. So when I started exploring the challenges that newcomers have navigating the Canadian job market and becoming involved with Employ as a mentor, some of the challenges that I would run up against when I wanted to hire newcomers were language and legality. So language is a common challenge that newcomers face, and any candidate that comes through Employ has already been pre-screened for competency in English. And I would like to challenge people to consider the benefits that they could reap by including more multilingual candidates on their teams. Think about the business that they can help develop and the relationships that they can build, not only globally, but even deep into pockets of ethnocultural resources and markets right here at home that otherwise your business would be completely closed off to if it is only English speaking. And then when it came to legality, I was an IT manager. I was not an immigration lawyer. I had no idea about, can somebody work for me? I didn't know that in our region, 20% of our population is comprised of newcomer talent who have legal status, have work authorization, and professional experience in their field. 20% in our area. So if you are a hiring manager, I would like to ask you, do you know that you are accessing that talent pool when you're posting your jobs? And if you're not, you're missing out on a huge percentage of our population right here who can come work for you tomorrow with experience. Now, something that the panel touched on earlier, my biggest challenge as an IT manager when I was hiring working in London, I was an IT manager working in London trying to hire people. We're not sexy. That's just the truth. Sometimes we would go through phases when the tech companies in town would have bursts of new roles where there wasn't enough talent. And attracting people to London was a huge problem. We're not Toronto. We don't have this awesome downtown core, and we don't have these flagship companies. So it was really hard to get people to come to London and fill those roles. 7 out of 10 newcomers land in those huge metropolises. Sheer practicality is why. They go where the numbers are. However, in Employ's job match program, we have candidates who have self-identified as being willing to move for work. And it is far easier for a newcomer to leave Toronto and come to London to work than it is for native-born Canadians who have families and kids in school and a lot of roots that are deeply built into those communities. So we have thousands of candidates who have said, I'm willing to come to London. That's another reason I would really encourage hiring managers in the audience today to take a look at the job match program. I would also like to say if there's anybody here in a company looking to extend their reach in the community, you can do so by running one of our group mentorship programs or becoming a corporate champion for Employ. And for individuals out there, anyone in this room who is looking to either increase or reinforce your leadership skill set, be a mentor. I already met a few people here today who have been mentees or who have been mentors, and in one case, both. I started off as a mentor. The experience was incredible. I've done it 3 times. Willing to talk to anybody who wants to talk about that. But now we have something extra special at Employ. Not only do we get to work one-on-one directly with professionals in our field that are newcomers, but thanks to Fabio, wave your hand, Fabio. Fabio right there in the middle. He runs our virtual mentorship program. So you can now connect to a professional newcomer anywhere in the GTA or further into Southwestern Ontario. What a great way to start building your own leadership skills, but also getting an idea of the talent that is available and ready to come work for your company. Lastly, I would be remiss as a member of the Leadership Council to not mention that we are an employer-driven board, and if anybody is looking to join a nonprofit board, I'm a member of the nominating committee, and we are actively considering candidates so we can expand our Leadership Council for next year, the end of summer. So please hit me up if you have any interest in joining a board. I'd love to talk to you more about that experience. Newcomer talent is just one aspect of a diverse workforce. So I want to thank Arcane and ladies at UX, London, Ontario, for including us in this conversation today. Thanks.
And another person that I actually haven't gotten a chance to meet yet would be Sarah McRae. So we would like to give voice, hi Sarah, to Hutton House. Just on a side note, well, a related note, Arcane does have a worker from Hutton House named Krista Lynn. She's incredibly amazing. So I just wanted to say, give her a little bit of kudos, shout out, because she is pretty awesome. So
she's great. Perfect. Sorry, I just had my timer on because I don't want to go too long. So I work at Hutton House. I'm actually filling in for my coworker who is sick, so he wasn't able to come in today. But I thought I'd take his place. So he probably would have been way better than me, but I will give it my best shot. So a lot of people don't know about Hutton House. And so I wanted to do a quick little update on who Hutton House is. We've been in London for 65 years, which is a really long time. We support youth and adults that have disabilities and barriers. So what does disabilities and barriers mean? Of course, learning disabilities. We support people who have all different kinds of learning disabilities. There's some listed. Mental health concerns. I heard some of the panel talk about experience mental health throughout their life, and that's definitely a large population of people that we support, or people who are suffering with mental health concerns. Health problems. We support people who... Oh, there we go. Oh, it's not switching up there. That's okay, I'll keep going. Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Is that the right one?
That's okay, doesn't matter. Health problems, people with physical disabilities, and of course people with developmental disabilities as well. We actually have 3 locations here in London. Our main office is on Oxford and Wonderland. We used to stay behind the Wendy's, but the Wendy's is closed now, so we have to stay behind Money Mart. Inside Cherry Hill Village Mall. And we have a 3rd location closer to downtown on Ann Street. It's in the same building as Yoga Shack. That's our beautiful main building on Oxford and Wonderland where I work. So just a quick overview of what we do there. We like to support everybody holistically, so we like to include every part of their life, including rec and leisure. So we have offered art programs, fitness, healthy living. We have a social worker that does counseling and advocacy support. We teach life skills. At our Daybreak program, we work with the Southwest Wind to offer support to people who have physical complex needs. Inside our Cherry Hill Mall location, we have adult education supports. We do volunteerism, but most importantly, we do employment supports. So we help people who have disabilities and barriers to find employment, to find permanent, meaningful employment. And paid employment is also important. So how do we help with this? We help people through the whole process of looking for work, starting with the basic things like resume writing, cover letters, employment readiness workshops. But we help people one-on-one to also develop jobs that they're interested in and where they want to work. We help people to explore their options. We have a lot of youth who have no idea what they want to do. So we have an OT who does career exploration, personality testing. And then our very great jobs employment specialists help people with searching for jobs, making job development connections in the community, as well as helping people on the interview. And when they do get a job, we come and do job coaching on-site and off-site. We work with the employer and the individual for 3 years plus. So we do check-ins. At the beginning, we might be there every shift. And then years and years later, we might have employers or people come back saying, I have a job change, I need help. And we continue to support them through that process. We also have a very special program for our youth. For us, youth is people under the age of 30. That we offer a 15-week paid training program where people come in and do 3 weeks of in-class training, and then they go on a placement for 12 weeks. So it is a funded program, so the wages are all paid by the government, and it's just experience for the youth so that they can figure out what they want to do and have some experience in maybe the tech industry. So here are some employment facts for people who do have disabilities. And facts are great, but I think we all know that having a diverse community is what we want, and the most important part of having a happy, productive company is to have a diverse team. So yeah, there's facts there, but we don't really need them because we know that it's important. So I picked Joe, who was supposed to be here today, as the contact person because he is the most important person to contact if you're looking for employment. I don't work in our employment area, so it's not me. But yeah, I left his info up there. Thank you.
I'll just yell. It's okay. I'm loud enough. So, again, we are at the end. So thank you very much. I'm a member of the Ability First Coalition as well, and we've done a lot of work with Hutton House. I can attest firsthand. They're doing some great work with integrating people into the workforce, and we talked about diversity today. We're also big champions of accessibility. So if you've taken anything away from this, we hope that you can apply this to your day-to-day work, that this is a conversation that you continue to have internally and also with the broader community. So we do want to thank, obviously, this is the organizing committee that set this up. I won't thank myself, but Dan, Donna, Emily, Fabian, and Camilo. Camilo really deserves a lot of recognition for this because he's the one that came up with the idea. He gathered us all together. He's really been the driving force. So he really does deserve the recognition. I want to thank Arcane for providing this great space for us. We appreciate that. And ladies at UX, London, LDN, LD, whatever you are now, LDG, just for co-presenting this and really helping us get the message out and having this first conversation. We do want to thank Digital Echidna, London Life, and Race Roster for supporting this endeavor by providing us with some amazing panelists. And I want to thank all of you just for being here. Oh, sorry, Employ, Hutton House, don't want to forget you guys, but we want to thank you guys for coming out tonight and supporting this. And we hope to see you at the next one. Not sure when that's going to be. We're going to talk about that now that we've got this out of the way. We'll talk about the next event. But now we have a draw, right? What are we drawing again? There's an Arcane prize pack.
It's an Arcane prize pack. There's a t-shirt in there. It's a medium, so if it doesn't fit, I'll grab you another one. We'll get whatever. Oh, I'm done.
Is Heather Peel still here?
Ah, there you go.
Hello.
So now we're giving out 2 sketch licenses. So if you know what Sketch is, yeah, there's a few people nodding their heads. It's actually a design app that is only available on Mac. We need to we've had to re-give the giveaways before. So I want to make sure that if you win the prize, you can give it to somebody that you know, or you can put it back in and we'll redraw. But we have 2 licenses and they're each worth $99 US for a year subscription. So
you did see that Dan pulled this out because the winner is Megan Turner.
Oh, cool! All right.
And Jenna Lee.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Have a safe trip back home, and we hope to see you soon.